So today is a focus on Word, and if anybody missed our previous sessions, we just want to give you a quick overview of the legal tech audit and why we're doing this. So the audit, this is something that was developed by Kia Motors corporate counsel, general counsel, and he's using this to determine if the tech skills of the people he's hiring to do legal work for the company are up to par, and if they're going to be wasting a bunch of time on a bunch of busy work, or if he's actually getting the biggest bang for his buck. So he's developed this audit, and essentially every single firm that took this originally from him failed, and they failed pretty miserably. The worst was 8 hours, and his goal for people to pass this was an hour or less. And the person who developed this can do this in 30 minutes. So he's figuring, okay, we'll give you a full hour, and these people they're taking way too long. So he can tell that they're going to be wasting a lot of time on the work that he's giving them. So what is the audit? Basically, it's some mock assignments that are given in Word, PDF, and Excel, and they just use general legal work that people would be expected to do on a normal job. And so the specific tasks aren't really as important as how well you're using the software. So basically, it's testing for your competence in office productivity. And just to prove that we aren't just teaching this for no reason, and it's not just Kia Motors who's concerned with this too. The ABA has actually implemented a new rule that says that professional competence is now expressly a duty that you must be aware of and use technology that's at your disposal. And so this is something that, it's not good enough just to know how to type in Word. You want to be able to use it efficiently so that you're not overcharging your clients and that you're not wasting time. You're getting things done in a timely manner. And so today we're going to focus on Word and how you can use that.
So why would you want to use Word? I guess the question is, why would you not want to use Word? Does anybody use WordPerfect or Google Drive? Okay. In the actual firms, this is the Legal Tech Audit, Legal Technology Survey from 2014, and there's not even an other category based on the 400-something firms that responded. Overwhelmingly, 2010. 2013 is still very small, but has anyone made the jump to 2013 yet? I have very recently, and it's a very nice tool, and I'll get to why maybe we should think about making the jump too. But when you go out into your practice, you're probably going to be using the Office suite of tools, including Word, and it's just, at this point, almost the de facto. So what are we going to be talking about? We'll be talking about styles, the most hidden important thing in Word ever, as well as using them to apply cross-references. We'll be doing section breaks, table of contents, and page numbering. This might sound a little familiar from when you did your first year brief, but I think it's a good refresher, and there's some extra goodies baked in here that weren't immediately obvious. We'll also be going into, if we've got the time, we'll go over tracking changes, why it's important, adding comments. It's a little extra feature. Used by yourself, it's almost an annoyance, but in a practice setting where you're working or you're collaborating on creating a document with multiple people, actually tracking changes and be able to share comments with the document by itself is invaluable. So as students, as employees of University of Georgia, you can actually get Word, Excel, and PowerPoint and Outlook 2013 for free across 4 different devices. If you actually go through the process of logging into UGA Mail from a browser, you'll notice that there's this crazy icon in the upper left-hand corner that will show you have a browser-based version of all of these tools. So you have that. Doesn't have a lot of the options, it's enough to get work done, but if you go through the process of getting Office 365, you can install the full suite. That's what I did, and I've been playing around with PowerPoint, really cool, playing around with Word, really cool. Just some of the aesthetic features make it more pleasant to use. So we'll be going over, what do you need to know for the tech audit? Well, there's an enormous PDF list. There's at least 100 different things you need to do in Word. Some of them are very obvious. Can you do a find and replace? Sure. Can you do all these crazy things with styles? Maybe. That's what we'll be going over. So in our first exercise, we're going to going over what styles are, how to use them, and all the cool things they actually do. So if you've got a laptop and you'd like to follow along, I invite that. A lot of the things we'll be going over are also on your handouts, so if you just want to kind of check that along and seem like, okay, I get that, maybe make some notes, we can do that too.
Did anyone not get a handout?
So the very first thing you want, I think we're all familiar with this view. This is where I imagine 99% of our editing gets done, or our typing and just creating a document. What I want you to think about doing first, and this is kind of a set it and forget it tool. File, Options, Advanced, and like, okay, this is a little overwhelming, that's fine. You just want to scroll down until you get to the display area. And you just want to change this 0 to a 1. What that does, nothing at all right now, but we'll get to it eventually. Now, I'm just going to create some quick content for us to work with. And this is a cool thing I discovered. You can equal rand something in a parentheses, generates just filler content that you can work around with. And this is something that I think the tech audit also teaches you, is that maybe take the time to familiarize yourself with these tools outside of an actual assignment or project. It feels like it's at a good, like I will learn how to do all these cool things in Word and Excel and Acrobat while I actually have a project. It's good motivation to learn things. What it actually does is just pile on the stress, makes you freaked out. Eventually you'll start just like, okay, I can't do all these cool nuanced things, I'm just going to brute force it. So generating this blank content using templates that we've provided in previous sessions just to kind of open up, fiddle with, like we all have lots of time to play with, I understand, but sometimes just familiarizing yourself with these tools is worth the time. So adding blank content, worth it. So let's add, I'm going to add some headings. Let's see, summary.
And again, there's a list on the front of the handout of all of the items that he's going to be covering. So don't feel like you have to remember every little thing. This will at least get you to the spot and to the tools that you need in the program.
Okay, so bare bones of some kind of report, brief, whatever. Normally what you would do is like, okay, I've got my introduction, I'm going to make this, big, I'm going to bump up the fonts, I'm going to make it bold, add some coloring. That's cool. Let's try editing the look and feel of the document using the way Word actually wants you to do it. This bar that we all probably ignore, just okay, whatever. I want you to right click, modify. So now you got this very interesting looking pop-up box. There's just a couple fields you want to worry about. This formatting should look familiar, here. So I want it to, let's say, Times New. We're all familiar with that one. 12-point font, sure. This automatic, it's actually the coloring. We don't want it automatic black. Good start. This is where a lot of the magic happens here, is the formatting. You can see all these other things we can do. Let's just focus on paragraph. Indentation. Normal is going to be the bulk of our text, so it's going to be all our paragraphs. So we want it to look nice, professional. So this indentation, just on the first line, intended by ½ inch. So you can see we've got some preview text down here. This spacing, just watch above and below as I change this. Starts getting, so before, not that great. After, kind of important. Let's make it 6. Line spacing. I don't know about you, but in Word, when you do a character, like a enter and do the carriage return after a paragraph, and it adds that extra line, like, I hate that personally. So I remove that, make sure it's single spacing, always. Let's see. Let's bump that up to 12, sure. You can kind of see all my text has been changed without me having to manipulate everything up here. Well, that's cool. But we have a couple other styles up here to play with. What, maybe 15, a dozen? This weird square box here. It's styles, okay. It's the same. Options. But I want to see all of them. Alphabetically arranged, please. And now you can see we have a bunch of different styles. And actually, you start using a lot of these if you start creating very complex documents. You really only need to worry about maybe 5. This normal, heading 1, heading 2, maybe heading 3, and title. So we'll just be doing heading 1 and 2 for now, just to give you an idea. Let's scroll down. I could do it up here. I'm just going to, for the sake of demonstrating, modifying it. Let's also make that Times New. 14-point bold. For some reason the default style is always like this blue shade. Back to paragraph. You can see there's this big unwieldy block of white space between what's going to be before this heading and what's after. So I don't want crazy indenting. I don't want crazy before, but I do want crazy after. Okay, so that didn't change anything. Let's make these all headings. Heading 1s. So I've highlighted them. I'll apply heading 1 to them. No, not yet. And you see everything I've highlighted has now applied this heading style. So one more quick change to heading 2. Modify. Times New, 13 bold. Also format, paragraph. We'll let it be indented, sure. Before, 6 after. Okay. Single spacing still. Make both of these heading 2. Okay. Now it looks a little presentable. But what did that really do aside from making it look nice? First of all, if we bring it to the view page and we click on this navigation pane, this is what I closed earlier because I wanted it to be a surprise. You can see that you can actually start clicking through. It recognizes its headings. You see that it's indented heading 2s. If we had heading 3s below those, it would actually drill it further down. So it's a quick way to navigate through. What you can also do is maybe the statement of facts should be the first section after my introduction. Just drag, drop. And it removes everything under that. Word is smart like that. It knows that everything that's clumped into here is part of that section. So let's move this back down. So that's the use of the navigation pane. Also, remember that the very first thing I did was set that 0 to 1. You can see when I pull up the draft view, this is that column. Unless you set that 0 inches to 1 inches, this column won't show up. So you can get a quick view of all the different styles that have been applied. This is really useful when you have a couple different styles that look very similar but have very different uses. Maybe quote sections, which have, just squeeze it together, the margin on both sides applies a font. You want to be able to see that's actually a quote and not just something you've indented funny for some reason. Print layout. Okay, this is cool. This is the first really cool thing that I think I discovered over the course of Word. So I've got these, and if I'm making a legal document, it's going to be divided by headings, sections, articles, what have you. So I'm just going to make sure my mouse is over, or that my icon is over one of these, and these up here. Not the bullet points, not the numbering, this multi-level list. There's a little drop down here. Okay, that looks cool. But some of these headings styles actually have, in this gray, heading 1, 2, 3 kind of baked into it. So I'm just going to pick this one because it looks the most legalistic. Click. and it applies Article 1, 2, 3, 4, subsection 4.01. You can see this is all automatically applied by this multi-level list. So neat, but what if I were to oh no. Okay. Just a new heading, I couldn't think of a good name. Apply a heading to it, automatically renumbers it because it knows it's modifying the headings, and renumbers every subsequent heading under it. So if you need to add something in the middle of it, don't need to go modifying every single one of these. With 6, not that bad. When you get into the hundreds of articles for maybe a long contract or legal documents, you don't want to go through all those pages. Just make sure the heading is applied to them. It automatically takes care of it. So this would be a good place to talk about cross-references.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Can you set like custom article headings or whatever? Because like 4.02, things like that, that's kind of weird for a lot of things that we write.
Right.
How do you change that so it doesn't like you're writing a constitution?
That would be define a new multi-level list, at which point you get to go crazy. I think you can actually highlight it, and then you could say it's going to be, what would you say, article or what would be a good?
It would be just going to be like 1.
Sure. Or maybe
Boring.
let's just remove that entire thing. Just we have the article. We have 5. Let's see. Yeah, number styles from level 1. If you want to remove it, I guess you could. Yeah. So we get a good preview of what it looks. Did that? Oh, and now we have to apply it, which is what. Let's see. Oh no. There you go. Oh, I guess. Oh.
Is that your new one?
Is this my new one? Interesting. I thought it was going to be super simple. Oh, change list level. I wonder. No, that didn't work. It's there.
No, I think I get the general, like, where
Yeah.
you just kind of mess with it. That's
Yeah, it's baked into it. I know. I was actually thinking about how I would make that a tweak, and I thought it would be like, oh, this is going to be super straightforward. It's never that straightforward.
As long as we know like where to go.
Right. Any other questions while we're still talking about the styles? Like I said, this is something I think is probably the most important. This is how Word, this is the 1,000 miles a minute. This is the difference between typing a document and word processing a document. This is where you go from, I'm going to be a proficient typist to being, I'm going to excel at being able to churn out a document. One last thing, because if you saw at the very first session we talked about, they have a video and like, here's all these cool things. And I wanted to learn how to do all the cool things. So cross-references are one of the cool things. Let's say I want to make references to these subheadings. References tab, cross-reference. I can insert by numbered item, and it automatically picks up that I've assigned numbers with the automatic numbering. So I'm going to insert a reference to cases by paragraph text. Yeah, paragraph text. You see, it picked up the actual title of it. If I wanted to make it the whole thing, I would also insert by paragraph number. Is there a space between there? No, there is. A little later on, I'll insert paragraph name. And text right after it. Yep. So now these are cross references. If 5.02, 5.01. And once again, if I were to add yet another crazy heading, also renumbered, however, still thinks it's 5.02. Why I can't automatically update that, I'm not sure. So Control A, select all, right click, update field. Now it's all set. So this is when you have these references in the text to these headings, but you don't want to try to shoehorn in an actual heading because it will mess up the styles. This is just a way to make those references, automatically update them all, and not have to worry about going through. Updating headings, one thing. Updating all the references to all those headings, a nightmare. That's all I had for this. Any questions, concerns, comments, things might be cool to cover in this purview? We'll move on to something that might be a little familiar. But first, everybody ever notice this weird backwards paragraph icon? Everybody fool with it? What it'll show you is all the markup, I call it. You can see there are dots where every space is. There is the paragraph symbol where there's ever a break. On a document that's super simple like this, it's pretty straightforward what it is. When you start getting really weird with the document, and this is where Word tends to fight you tooth and nail, like, I'm going to do all these crazy things with the document. I'm going to put characters over here. I'm going to add crazy indentation here. If you want to figure out why it's doing that, using this markup button is a great way to see all the hidden stuff Word is applying to you, and then you can just like click on it and make it go away. So let's play with section breaks, because this is a good example. Oh no, whatever. So let's say I need to insert a title page or table of contents, is what we're going to be covering in our example. So page layout, break, section break by next page. Looks very similar to adding a page break or just hitting enter a bunch of times. Home, markup button, you can see, oh, here's the section break, and it's breaking on the next page. If I want to add content, oh no, I made it disappear. Let's see. Good. Section breaks. All right, table of contents. There's a couple different ways to do table of contents. There's one, which is the automatic way, which is really nice. It's just references, table of contents, automatic. Let's just go with this one. Let's make the layout go away. You can see it's actually picking up on a lot of the, it's noticing that all the headings and heading 1s and 2s, it's just making into the actual content. You can see that the actual having the Article 2 and Article 3 and section something kind of messes with the way it looks, because it's adding all of this extra formatting over here. Let's see. I just wonder if there's modifying the automatic table of contents is outside of the purview of our talk for today. But you can see, you notice that it's starting on page 2, which is technically correct, but realistically you want table of contents to be its own thing, and you want the actual document to start on page 2. We can all know how much of a nightmare this can be. I think anyone who's gone through their first year brief really struggles with this, and Joellen goes over a lot about how to fix that, but this is kind of a refresher. We will double click into this nebulous footer area. Come on, there we go. You see we have these heading sections, and footer sections, and you notice it's this link to previous where all of your troubles will be solved. You notice when I click on this one, it has no link to previous because it's the first. There is no previous. So, heading 1, unlinking it. We're going to divorce these sections from each other. Now you can see it's applied to both the heading and the footer. So, Let's add some page numbers. Okay. I will add page numbers to the bottom in the middle. Oh. It's smart like that. It saw I was on the first page, so it added it to the first page. I will now move down to the second page. It's being smart with me. Okay, so starting on page 1, starting on page 2. I will highlight my page number in the actual content of my document. Right click, format page number. I'm going to start it at 1. Normally, if you had not unlinked the sections, it would start at 1 up here as well and move down to 2 here. There would be no obvious difference. Since we've broken out the sections, it knows section 1 is going to have its own formatting for the page numbers, and section 2 will have different formatting. So, just to prove that, format page numbers, let's make this fancy. Continue from previous section, nope. So now, table of contents has its own thing, and the actual content of my document has it. But, again, Word is smart, but not that smart. It still thinks it's starting on page 2. So, updating the table, update the entire table. And now it looks a lot prettier, actually. Hey. But you can see, starting on page 1, it's completely neglecting the page that it's on. I wanted to throw one more thing at it because it came up recently, and I wanted to kind of, it flummoxed me on how to do it. Oh, that really messed it up. Let's see my markup. There we go. Insert, page break. If you wanted to make a manual table of contents, and this is something where you have content in your table of contents that's beyond something you're willing to tag with heading 1, heading 2. Suppose you're creating the program for, just a handout for a program, and you here are all the people that are going to be here's the actual title of the talk, and here are the people speaking at it. You're not going to tag the people speaking at it. You're going to just kind of add them as subtitles to it. So you want a manual table of contents. It sounds like it's more challenging than it should be, but I'm going to go over it anyway. So let's go heading 1, and I will hit the tab, and it'll start on page 1, let's say. You have to use the markup number, the markup button. You see this little arrow is the tab arrow. I'm going to highlight it. This is getting down into the weeds, folks. I'll use this paragraph breakout button down to tabs. And now I can't use this effectively because I forgot to turn on something else. Ruler. Okay, much better. I think we're all used to seeing that across the top. Paragraph, tabs. Tab, stop position. So I'm going to manipulate the way tabs work as I'm typing. I want it to appear at 6. Where am I getting 6? Like inch 6 on my document. It's going to appear on the right, and I want my wonderful little dots to show up. Okay? Automatically does it. Moving on to heading 2. Heading. You can see it just automatically creates, so it's better than hitting dot, period, all the way to the end, because sometimes it's kind of fudges the margins at the side, it doesn't exactly line up. This is to make it look really nice, really professional. Problem is, if I keep going on and manipulating the document, like I want to just start a paragraph, won't work. Back into the paragraph, tabs. Okay, none, okay. clear all. Stop doing all the crazy stuff. Turn off my markup. And now it works normally. That's how you would actually go through the process of making a manual table of contents. Sometimes that's what you want to do because you will have to add extra content, extra information, stuff you're not willing to kind of fudge. There might be a way to apply styles in a very creative way to actually get all that information in. I think that would actually be more complicated than doing it by hand. Any questions? Otherwise, we're going to end a little early. Or we'll move on to one last thing that I think we can cover in a pretty good clip. Cool. Last thing to cover are what I talked about, tracking changes. And really, it's something you can, once again, set and forget. I am going to track changes. Plain and simple. Didn't change anything immediately, it's just highlighted now. But if I add something, or remove something, it's not going to do it immediately. And I can save this, and these changes will actually appear in the document when I save it, send it to someone, when I bring it up again later. If I want to actually make this stick, I'll start going through and accepting and rejecting. I will. All right, let's accept and move to next change, which is the default. Or I can just click through. Yes, I can just click through these and use them to find all the changes that I've made in the document, or my partner, someone I'm working on a document in class, someone I work with, something they've changed and they want to make sure it's okay with me before I actually commit these changes. Otherwise, you're going to be writing an email, okay, I added this to this section, I changed that to this section. You might miss something, and it might be really important. So I'm going to accept this first change, and no, I want to keep that, reject that change. Get a little pop-up saying, you're done looking. That's great. You can also throw in, if I were to say, I want to delete this, and then, let's see, where's my comments? There. And this will actually stick through the content as well, which is all fine and good. This is great for making proto-documents as you're going to be working through. What can happen, though, is you will add this markup, you will track changes, you will add these comments, and then you'll get to actually making this document and sending it out to the court or opposing counsel. The problem is they can find a lot of that metadata still baked into the document. Word keeps a lot of this information. Sometimes it's hidden beneath the surface, but getting below the surface is really easy. It's unfortunately easy. So, one last thing. Make sure all of this goes away. Let's see. Review. File. Prepare for sharing. It's there right in the middle of the page, but you might not notice it all the time. Check for issues. And inspect the document. Yes, save the document. That's fine on the desktop. And this is everything I wanted to look for. Very first thing, comments, revisions, versions, and annotations. That's really important. Another really important one, documents and document properties and personal information. Can't see that right now, and that's fine. I'm going to inspect for all of those things. And you can see, oh my gosh, I found everything. So you know what? Make it all go away. Reinspect it. We're good to go. This document has been scrubbed clean of all of those changes. You can even see it doesn't even know who wrote this document. So this is just a great way this is going to go out into the world. It needs to be pristine. It needs to not reveal anything more than what's on the page. And this is especially important since even if you make this document, don't scrub it, save it as a PDF, that information is still in the PDF. So if they go through the process of looking through the data, I'm not going to say the kind of person that will, but it is possible to scrub through that information for any extra details that you might not want to share. So going through this process, super important. And see all those contents and text changes, they're gone now. That is all I had planned to talk about. Like I said, might end a little quickly, that's fine. Questions, comments, concerns, anything anyone else has discovered in the course of using Word that might sound cool to share with the rest of it? I've been going around asking people right along, is there anything you need to want to learn about Word? Is there anything I should cover? And part of the problem with Word is that it's really intuitive. You can use it without any training. You can just pick it up and go and not have to worry about it, which is a credit to Microsoft, but it also means that a lot of the tools they bake in are extra hidden because you don't feel like you need them. This is the kind of stuff where you do this 50 times a day and you shave off a minute every time you do it. You save months of your life over the course of a couple of years not having to work on this. I've done the math, or I've seen someone who's done the math, and when you do thumbnail or just back of the napkin math, and you're billing at $200, $300 an hour, you're saving an average of $50,000 for your clients over the course of a year. That's not a bad thing to say to your client, like, what do you offer aside from being a brilliant legal mind? Well, I'm going to save you a ton of money too. Doesn't hurt. That's all we had planned.
If you're a student and you would like to take our legal tech audit assessment, we have, and you've come to all of the sessions, and we're having more sessions the end of this month and next month. You can use the back of your handout to find links to an exercise template and assessment, and so you could go in and show us that you can accomplish the things that we taught you today, and upload them. You can see a little section, how can I earn the tech audit readiness certificate? And that's how you can do that. So you can upload these assessments we're giving you. Just show us that you know how to execute the things we've taught you in these sessions. If you missed the previous 2 sessions, we're about to repeat those. So the next one, I think it's February 25th.
Yep.
And those are going to be in the afternoon. So if you know anybody who wasn't able to come to the morning sessions, feel free to let them know about those. And so we'll be doing a whole repeat of Excel, PDFs, and of Word.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.